look to the black-owned businesses, but sometimes you don't find one. But you can find someone who's black who works there. And sometimes they make commission. That's something that we can get back. So we have to ensure we do stuff. Now, I've partnered with Minority Builders and opening some doors, and Minority Builders actually has contractors and business people who do construction work that you ought to be reaching out to. I don't hear anything. There's a group called National Association of Black Hotel Owners and Developers, NABOO. When you travel, you can look to see where black-owned hotels are and stay there. So again, it must be conscious, it must be deliberate, and it starts with us, and we must influence those around us to spend more with that. I'll come back to government stuff later, but it starts right now. Thank you so much for being here, for being the leaders that you are, to show your presence, to ensure that we're righting that disparity that exists within this community.
Thank you for having someone from Palm Beach County down here. At the Urban League, just like Jermaine stated, we make a very conscious effort to make sure that where we spend our dollars, either be from an IT service, to a general contractor, to a plumber, to an electrician, and to the point now where I don't have many others other than minority vendors coming to answer my calls when we need help because they know what I'm looking for. And one thing that I want to mention, if you're not getting what you want from your black vendor or black service provider, let them know. Let them know quickly, not a month later or on the side or through somebody else. Be direct. Say, hey, I need a minute of your time. You didn't do this right. I'm paying top dollar for it. I need it done correctly. I need you to correct it now. And 9 times out of 10, they will say thank you. Because it may not be the owner that's doing the work right there on your job, but it could be their employees, and they want to know because they want the business. Now, not all the time it works correctly, but we make a very, very conscious effort to make sure that we do as much as we can. And I agree with you, Commissioner, you can't find everybody that can do everything you need, but they're out there. All you have to do is search, and then sometimes go beyond just the first call you make or the first thing you hit on Google or the first thing. Keep exploring. You can find out black-owned businesses, look at the names sometimes, look at where their addresses are. You can determine that. You may not like it, but you can determine it.
Thank you. So let me ask you a different question, Pastor Burke. Thank you. So we learned from the presentation with Maggie, and we talked about her experience. And I'm wondering, particularly with black businesses, do we have the right businesses in our communities? Because we want to support businesses, and we want, we know it takes a conscious effort, but do we have the right type of businesses in our communities?
Well, the direct answer is no. But I think you raised the point that I was going to respond to in concert with that question. I like what Maggie said about the mindset. And I think that one of the challenges that I'm addressing in my approach is trying to get back to the business path. She talked about the business path in relationship to the political path. In the 50s and 60s, we intentionally chose the political path. Dr. King was very instrumental, and toward the end of his life, he began to look at the Poor People's Campaign. The statistics started to show him that maybe now it was time to migrate to the business path. And I think the solidarity piece she brought up is critical. And I want to just speak to that for a minute, because I think we can't put the right businesses in the community until we survey and study what will thrive in our community. She said it very clearly, that after a year, those businesses are gone. They couldn't sustain themselves. There wasn't a match between that community and the need. The other piece, which I think is critical to stop the leakage, is to be legacy oriented. I'm proud to say I'm the product of a great-grandfather who was very intentional about the property that he owned in McIntosh, Alabama. And he made sure that when he sold a little piece to the chemical plant, he didn't sell the mineral rights. He kept the mineral rights, and it's been passed on from my great-grandfather to my grandparents, to my mother, to me, and now even my son. And as we're fighting over these issues, because we are a family now trying to hold on to the land, we're not fighting each other. We're fighting to keep people in McIntosh, Alabama from taking over our family's property. And we've held on. The solidarity behind it is this. Now I'm in Miami, and what we're doing in the Collective Empowerment Group is we are developing property. Some of it's going to be commercial. And we're going to bring in some real sharp people. I don't want to call their names female, I might add. Well, I'll call one Michelle Gibson. Michelle Gibson is a triple bottom line expert in setting up small businesses. And her hope, and my hope, is she'll look at our community and say, all right, these are the businesses that will thrive here. Let's open the doors and make sure they get supported. And how can we hold on to them? It's going to be the tough challenge. Because Maggie said this also. When Madam C.J. Walker dominated the hair care industry, we understood that. But when Maybelline came in, we gave in. We got to figure out how to change the mindset. Their ice is not any colder than ours.
So we're going to get to that mindset question. And I actually have a question for you. You can answer that. Great question for you, Vice Mayor. Now, we know that in terms of growing our businesses, we know that a lot of businesses sometimes find it difficult. We're all taxpayers, and the largest areas that exist for really business growth sometimes is the government. And so I know, Commissioner Johnson, you've had a lot of experience with pushing governments in direction to be more open to supporting Black and minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. And I'd like for you to talk about what more can be done. How can we help you all, you and Commissioner Holdens, for instance, push that even further so that we take a bigger piece of that pie?
So first of all, let me do what I always do when I have these types of discussions in public as an elected official. I've been an elected official for 2 years and 9 months. I've been a Black man now 43 years and 3 weeks. So if I end up making you nervous about how much Black stuff I talk, and I know some people get nervous when their elected officials talk like Black stuff, I blame the Black man because I've been him a lot longer than I've been an elected official. Mayor Jackson, the Black mayor of one of the largest metropolitan cities in America, Atlanta, who's also a Morehouse man before he passed away, obviously. He once said that although it's not perfect, politics is the most effective, non-violent way to change how we live as a people. Let me say this again slower. Although it's not perfect, politics is the most effective, non-violent way to change how we live. Now, Maynard Jackson told us as students at Morehouse that he recognized as a light-skinned man who can pass as white, of course, he has a strong Black consciousness, and that he measured his success not by how well he managed the city's budget, but how many Black millionaires he created. Now, watch this. That means that as Black elected officials, we have access to policies that can tell you whether you can walk towards a street on a certain street or not, that can tell you what is or is not a crime, that can decide where the money goes that we collect in taxes. If we realize that prosperity is a team sport, right? Everybody else, all the stats that Maggie gave, I have some stats here that suggest that everybody seems to get it. That they have to ensure the prosperity of their own. Unfortunately, with us, it has to be a little bit more intentional. It's not because we abandon each other voluntarily. We got to remember the history of this country now. This stuff was intentional. We just don't have to continue to volunteer to participate anymore. But one thing we got to do, and I'm going to say this, and I know we got to come back later on, but as Black elected officials, I'm one, Commissioner Holdens is one. I think we're up to almost 45 now. We got to recognize that prosperity is a team sport. And we can't become less of a cheerleader for our team the higher we go. We have to use now our new influence to cheer more and to provide more access to our community and stop being scared to say the word black.
So, you have the mic.
I was just going to add briefly to that. Pastor Willis and Brian also made some points that things I wanted to comment on as well. And part of that is what Brian just said, talking about the fact that once we get into positions of or elected officials or get into these corporate positions or become a part of the talented 10, we seem to have an inability to recognize that we are a community still. Instead, we want to try to make the side deals and try to figure out what we can do to bring ourselves up instead of going back to that whole sense of community. So I had the pleasure of being raised in a very small town where everybody knew everybody. I had the pleasure of getting values that was instilled in my mom as a pastor. And I love being black. I never had a problem being black. I love being black. And I think it goes to the mindset, we have to first go back to loving who we are. If you don't like who you see in the mirror, you're not going to support that person when you see her pass you by in the hallway. So we have to really get back to the root of who we are and why we are and whose we are to start focusing on what we're going to do for one another. And that's my little pitch, sorry. Go ahead.
Pastor, I feel like I'm in church right now. I don't know. All this preaching might count as church, right? This might count as church right now.
Burnadette, if I may. Governments make people millionaires. A whole lot of folks. And what can we do? Watch the money. All that money goes into campaigning is because they want to buy access to opportunities. And we don't get much money, but that's beside the point. Here's what I want to tell you. How do we change this for government? You've got to make sure that whoever you elect, you talk to them about the money. Who, how, when, where. They're going to change the policies to ensure that blacks are included in the equation. Now, in most instances, we don't have set-asides anymore. Big white companies decide we want to kill that. But there are other ways to do it. At Brown County, when I got there, a little over 10% of our contracting was with small, minority, women-owned businesses. They're all in one category, small business, county business enterprise. Today, 50% increase in 5 years, in 6 years, to over 16.5%. And our Economic Development Director, Sandy Michael McDonald, is here. That's my, stand up, Sandy, because I want to make sure people see you. If you have a business and you want to do contract with the government, I have out front some stuff that look like this that gives you some information. Sandy Michael McDonald and his team is on here. Also, information on starting a business, resources from different entities that provide services to you. When I got to the county, we were about shuffling paper, not necessarily empowering businesses. Today, it's a whole different ballgame. It's about how we help our small business, and particularly minority, and let me say this, black-owned business, because that's my focus, and I make no apologies for it. What are you going to do? Put me out of office? Well, guess what? My district's 70% black. So if all of you out there don't recognize that, you got a black man working for you, and he's going to fight with everything he has, and you can look at the meetings at the county and see what I'm talking about.
And I've got to say, Commissioner Holdens, sometimes what we can do, and I'll tell you all what we can do, it's very difficult when you are one of 9 and you have the majority of the black folks in your black district, and you are constantly fighting, and it looks like you don't get along with folks and all of this stuff. And what the real issue is, your interest is not their interest. His interest is not the rest of his commission's interest for the most part. And so he needs some help. He needs us to go down to those county commission meetings, sit in those audiences, because when 10 of us are there, we look like 100 people. We really do. So we have got to support him in that way. We got to do it. And one other thing, while I have the microphone, I get to say this. Commissioner Holdens appointed me to the Charter Review Commission, and so I'm happy to serve. This is actually my second term. I serve under another commission.